Shayla here, and I am here to film a fun video for you. This is one that has been making its rounds around YouTube recently, and this is reacting to your assumptions about me. So anyone that I'm reading the assumptions that they left for me will be linked down below, either their Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube channel if they've got one. So definitely go and give everybody a follow / glance / watch, because this is just a fun way to get to know what people think about me. So I'm pulling up my Twitter right now because that's where the majority of the comments were left. So let me just pull that up. Alrighty, so the first assumption about me is I assume you have to like hair and fashion just a bit. I love doing hair and I love that aspect of my job. Obviously, I own a salon, for those of you who don't know. The fashion side of things, because I'm a bigger girl and I've always been a bit on the curvy side, fashion and I have never been great friends. I do my best and I just try to at least feel comfortable in my own skin. I used to have a big complex about the size of clothes and things like that, and my mom was great. She always taught me that it's more important to have something that fits than to have something that's a certain size. And she's like, if you're ever uncomfortable with what the size is, just cut out the tag where it says the size number. And, that's when I really got to know that that isn't something incredibly important. Size doesn't matter. What matters is the fit. So I think I do okay fashion-wise because I choose clothes that fit me more than clothes that are fashionable, if that makes sense. Like, you will never catch me. I will never be caught dead in a crop top just because I'm not comfortable with my stomach. So that's just not something you'll ever see me in. I will never be that trendy girl who wears every piece of trendy clothing. Like, it's just not who I am. I assume you're pretty happy in your marriage, and I assume you're a bookworm and an otaku. So yes, I am very happy in my marriage. This is actually my second marriage, for those of you who don't know. My husband Steve and I met a little over 5 years ago. A week from today will be the 5-year anniversary of when we got engaged to be married. So we've been together a while. We're pretty happy about things. I feel really happy and secure in my marriage most of the time. Recently, I've been dealing with some PTSD stuff related to my first marriage, and he's been really great and supportive about that. He's very understanding. I'm super lucky that he chooses to be my partner every day because, man, my life would suck without him. Yes, I am a bookworm, and I think I would call myself an otaku. I'm a self-proclaimed otaku. I'm really geeky these days. I wasn't always comfortable with my geekiness. I guess that's something I can talk about here for a second. When I was growing up, being a bit older than most of our booktube, YouTube demographic here, being a geek or a nerd was not the cool thing, and it was not as acceptable. So I kept some of it on the DL for quite a while, but Steve, my husband, has really helped me just be okay with being myself and exploring things that I might have always been afraid to explore before. And that's how I got into anime and manga and those kinds of things. And it's just been great. It's been a really interesting thing, but I have not always been that way. I assume you're a bit of a chick flick fan from what you read as well. Oh yes, give me a good rom-com and I am a happy girl. And I read lots of... That leads into this next one, and it's a romance / shoujo maniac, which I completely am. If you pay close attention to the types of manga that I read, the majority of it really falls into that shoujo josei kind of realm, which means it's geared towards girls and they usually have a very strong romantic plot. And I love them. I am a trash can for them. I talk about them all the time. I know I'm not the only one here on the booktube space that talks about these kinds of series, so it's just fun that I get to be this person. I wish I could have been this person in high school, but I was just too scared to express myself in that way because I still wanted people to like me. I know that's really shallow to say, but it's the honest truth. So anyways, next up here we've got, I assume you don't read every book that every other booktuber reads. This is very true. More and more, if a book is overly hyped, I wait a while before I read it, just because a book is hyped does not mean it's good, at least in my experience. I don't read nearly as much YA as most booktubers. I read a lot of adult romance. And I read fantasy. I prefer adult fantasy or like new adult age kind of fantasies. The young adult fantasy, it falls into tropes that are kind of grating on me a lot of the time. So I don't always enjoy those. So there have been some that have been really popular that I have not really enjoyed and have decided to not continue on in those series. And others that I'm a total trash can for, like Throne of Glass. I love Throne of Glass. I love that whole entire franchise and series, and say what you will about the author, but I still like the books. You love your cat more than your husband, and your house is full of bookshelves, and it makes your husband frustrated. So, no, I do not love my cats more than I love my husband. My cats are like my children, but my love for my husband will always come first. And yes, my loft here where you guys see my shelves is pretty packed full of books. My husband does get frustrated at the amount of money I spend on books, but this is my cash tip money, so it's not anything he can really like criticize me about. He encourages me to save it to spend on other things, of course, but it's still always my choice. I think he wishes I would slow down on my book buying, especially my manga buying, because manga gets expensive. But I'm really good at shopping deals. I've started doing some digitally just because it's less expensive that way. And yes, so we're finding our middle ground a little bit better with that recently. I went really crazy for a while, but I've backed off on a lot of it, and I'm much more particular about what I pick up now than I was, say, 2 years ago. And then we have, well, I'd assume you're an animal lover. Kaladin looks so peaceful here. So here's the picture I posted of Kaladin when I was saying, Kaladin wants to know what your assumptions of me are. And yes, I am an animal lover. I always have been. I've always been drawn more to cats. Like, if I had a spirit animal, it would be a white tiger. I know this is really random to talk about, but it's just, that's what it is. I've always been drawn to felines and cats, and I love dogs too. I'm not a dog hater by any means. The dog I had growing up was like seriously the best dog. He was such a pal. I loved him to pieces. I miss him all the time. But yeah, so I have 2 cats for those of you who don't know, and we also have 3 chickens. And the last one here on Twitter is, I assume you are a girl, I assume you are an anime fan, and you like cats. Yes to all of those. Those are all not really, those are pretty easy to assume about me, I guess you could say. So let me pop over to the couple on Instagram, and then we'll be good. So this assumption is, you fell in love with reading as a kid. I would honestly say that I did. I had a father who was a public educator. He still to this day teaches. He teaches 6th grade. He's a 12-year-old in a grown man's body, so it's a really good fit for him. He really enjoys it. And I had a mom who always worked so that my dad could do what he loved. And I really did learn to love reading young, though there was a period after high school, before I met my now husband, where I didn't read very much, primarily during my first marriage, just because he preferred to have my attention than to let me go sit in another room and read, and it's just big, long, and complicated that way. But yes, I did fall in love with reading as a kid. And this last response is actually a response about Kaladin, because my cute little friend just misinterpreted what it was, and I'm okay with that. I still wanted to share it just because it's so cute. You're mischievous and you like to make messes for your owner to clean up. You also demand food. So this is mostly true. Kaladin is more a demander of water. He is very particular about water. If his water bowl is not like to his freshness level, he will sit and beg for you to drink from the sink because he prefers his water fresh, even though we have like a circulating water filter for them. And he's a little mischievous. He's not too bad. He's not the one to typically leave giant messes for us. That's actually Lightsong. Lightsong tends to leave messes that we don't like. He's very particular about the litter box. So if the litter box isn't up to his standards, he will just poop on the carpet. And it's a pain in the butt. But I love them anyways. They are my children, they are my babies, and I love them. Anyways, those are some assumptions about me. If you have any other assumptions about me that you would like me to answer or debunk for you, feel free to leave them in the comments down below, and I will see you guys in the next one.